Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And Blizzard has just released, fresh off the presses, new class tuning, and there's a lot of it. There's a lot of it. And we're going to be going over every single detail so that you know what's going to happen to your specialization or a spec you might be interested in, whether it's positive or negative, whether you need to be worried or not. And if you want to make sure you're staying up to date with news related to World of Warcraft, educational and entertaining content, then make sure to smash that subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. So their first note here, this is the intent of their tuning. They are making tuning adjustments that are primarily targeted at hero talents that are underperforming in various types of content. And in PvP combat, oh my god, we got our own sentence. We are continuing to improve underperforming specs, address over and underperforming specs, and either increase or reduce burst damage for specs that need it or have a bit too much. So for Demon Hunters, this is changes across the whole game, PvE and PvP. Eldrazi Reaver performance has been below its alternative hero talent option, so we're buffing some of its effects to reduce the disparity. Havoc baseline is getting 10% death sweep damage, which is great. This resolves an issue from a previous update where Blade Dance damage was increased, but Death Sweep's damage was not correctly updated to match. The base damage of Death Sweep is intended to be 30% more than that of Blade Dance, so MVQ's tweets finally worked. He's finally getting his Death Sweep damage. Eldrazi Reaver is also getting 15% damage on Reaver's Glaive, 55% damage on Warblade's Hunger, and Wounded Quarry will now deal 30% of physical damage to the target of your Reaver's Mark, up from 25%. So like pretty solid overall for Havoc there. I guess we'll have to see if this is going to be scaling your burst damage out of control or not with Reaver's Glaive. The numbers here don't seem huge to me, but I have very limited experience on Havoc. So if you're a Havoc Demon Hunter and this sounds massive, let me know in the comments down below. But for me, not being a Havoc main, it doesn't seem massive, it just seems decent. For Vengeance, you guys were underperforming massively, I think, in Mythic Plus. All we see here, though, is just Eldrazi Reaver buff, so you're also getting 30% damage, though, on Reaver's Glaive, 55% on Warblade's Hunger, and your Wounded Quarry will now deal 25% of the physical damage to your target of your Reaver's Mark, up from 20. So it seems like they're okay with Vengeance balance overall, though, other than just trying to redistribute hero tree balance. Feral Druids are getting a 4% damage buff, and you're keeping it in PvP. Okay. The 3% guy, he retired. It's the new 4%, or he got promoted to the 4% guy, I should say. Arcane Mage. You guys have been struggling, so let's see what it says here. In addition to an overall damage buff, we'd like to get Sun Fury's damage closer to Spell Slingers. So they're buffing all damage by 5%, but not in PvP. Arcane Mage, you're not allowed to keep that. There's got to be something big in the PvP side of things, I think, for you to not keep this. Arcane Missiles is also getting a 10% buff that will not be going into PvP, but will in PvE. Sun Fury Burden of Power, Arcane Blast damage bonus increased to 30, up from 25. Arcane Pulse damage bonus increased to 20, up from 15. So 5% additionally with Sun Fury on your Arcane Blast. I mean, it's nice. I don't know if it's going to be pushing you over the top as far as Mythic Plus. I think Frost is probably still the go-to. Really kind of depends on what they've done to Frost, though. Let's see. For Fire, these changes are intended to increase Fire's single target damage. The value of the increase should be comparable for all hero tree options. So buffing Pyroblast by 8%, but not in PvP. I feel like that's surprising because I feel like Fire is like underperforming now in PvP. And then Frostfire Bolt damage is being increased by 5%, but not in PvP. Are they finally destroying mages in PvP? Is this going to be the downfall of mages? Because I'm surprised they're not letting Fire keep that unless there's something major down in the PvP side of things. But Fire in Mythic Plus, I think Frost is probably still better. But I guess we'll see what happens here with Frost. Frostfire's performance is farther behind Spellslinger than we're happy with, so we're boosting a number of its talents to increase their single target and AoE damage. Frostfire Bolt damage got buffed by 5%, but not in PvP. Frostfire Duality Pyroblast got increased by 25%, which will go into PvP. I imagine this thing is like less than 1% of your damage if that's going over. Dual Casting Adept Shatter damage bonus increased to 40%, up from 15%, and you're keeping that in PvP. Frostfire Heatsink Flurry damage bonus increased by 25, up from 10. Are we buffing Frostmage? We're memeing me, right? There's got to be like nerfs down below or something. Frostfire Blast Radius Comet Storm damage increased to 50%, up from 20. There's no way. These didn't go through PvP and these ones did. I feel like there's no way unless there's something significant below. Retribution Paladin. Herald of the Sun has been trailing behind Templar in overall throughput. To improve its output, we're extending its effective damage window by granting an additional Dawnlight charge. We're also aiming to further improve its AoE performance by increasing the duration extension provided by Divine Storm. So Wake of Ashes will now cause the next 3 holy power spending abilities to apply Dawnlight from 2. So that's just more cleave damage. I think that's anything major in PvP. Endless Gleam now extends Dawnlight's duration also by an additional 0.5 when Divine Storm strikes at least 2 Dawnlights. That's directly a Mythic Plus change. That I don't think that's going to have huge implication in PvP, because this is like a Divine Storm AoE spam thing. It could have major implications in PvE, maybe. It's just one extra target. Maybe. For Priest, for Holy, we are reducing the mana cost of some core spells, so Holy Priest can feel more comfortable casting Prayer of Healing and Flash Heal, particularly in raid settings. So Flash Heal is 8% mana cost reduction, Benediction is also 8%, and then Prayer of Mending is 8%. Everything's just 8%. So a little bit of mana efficiency for Holy. Nothing too major, and that's it for Priest. Nothing for Shadow, nothing for Disc. Rogue. Deathstalker damage is below the other hero talent options for most content and damage profiles, especially for Assassination, and to the least degree for Subtlety, since single target output changes are targeted at improving Deathstalker's total performance compared to each specialization's alternative. So Deathstalker for Assassination. Deathstalker's mark damage increased by 30%. Deathstalker Clear the Witness now increases Fan of Knives damage by 60%, up from 40%. Hunt Them Down damage increased by 25% for Deathstalker. Corrupt the Blood now increases Rupture damage by 20% from 10 for Death. This seems like a lot, no? Deathstalker Darkest Night effect now increases Envenom damage by 35% up from 30. That seems huge for Assassination. Subtlety Rogue, Deathstalker's mark damage increased by 30%, and Deathstalker's Clear the Witnesses now increases Shuriken Storm by 60%, up from 40. Now these are, I think, intended Mythic Plus changes, but this one going through for Assassin, I don't know so much for Subtlety, because I don't know if you can get away with playing Deathstalker even with this, but this on Assassination seems like a lot. Elemental, Farseer, Ancestral Spirits from the Farseer hero talent tree now benefit from the critical strike damage increase of the Elemental Fury talent. Ancestral Spirits from, I'm assuming that means like the clones you summon. So you're gonna get a little bit more crit damage on your clones. For Restoration Shaman, we're adjusting the mana cost of some of Resto Shaman's spells to give them more room to spend mana on things like Chain Heal, particularly in raid settings. So mana cost of Chain Heal, Healing Wave, and Riptide is being reduced by 5%. I don't think I was ever ooming on my Resto Shaman in PvP. I feel like you're probably definitely not going to now with Riptide included and Healing Wave included there. For Warrior, I'm surprised there's not more tank changes for PvE. These change aim to improve Colossus performance. These changes aim to improve Colossus's performance in single target and Mountain Thing's performance in AoE relative to the other hero talent options. So for Colossus, Practice Strikes, Mortal Strike, and Slam damage increased by 25% up from 15, but not in PvP. I think that is smart to do that, not in PvP. For Mountain Thane, you're getting 30% more Thunder Blast damage, but not in PvP. Okay, we got some tank stuff. Colossus Practice Strikes for Prot Warrior. Shield Slam damage increased by 25% up from 15, but not in PvP. And Mountain Thane Thunder Blast damage increased by 30%, but not in PvP. I'm glad that they're doing this now. Because every time they buff the damage on the tanks, I start starting to slowly get out of control. So, kind of scary there. But nothing really too much. I was expecting more for tanks. I feel like the tank balance is still pretty top heavy. Now, PvP. Unholy DKs. Sand Lane Vampiric Strike damage is being increased by 30%. I don't know if that's enough to make you switch over, but definitely keep your eyes on checking out Sand Lane possibly with this. For Feral Druids, Druid of the Claw Ravage damage is being increased by 20% in PvP combat. So it's tired of everyone playing Wild Stalker. So it's the same thing with the hero talent balance here for PvP as well. For Elun's Chosen is getting a buff as well. Lunar Calling will now increase Starfire damage by an additional 20%. Oh my god, I might try that. I might try it. Maybe Starfire hits hard. I might try it. Preservation Evoker. Preservation has pulled ahead of the other healers, particularly due to their ability to withstand crowd control, but also due to their raw healing output. We are reducing some of their throughput capabilities and also uptime on Nullifying Shroud. So all healing is being nerfed by 5%. Nullifying Shroud will last only 3 seconds. I think this is a good one. And then Dream Breath instant healing is being reduced by 17%. I think this is like we'll have to see if it's enough. I mean, depending on what they did for buffs for other healers too, but like that's targeting all the main stuff, I think. It's just a matter of whether or not that's the correct amount. I do think the Nullifying Shroud being less than 3 is good, especially for classes that can't remove it, that don't have spammable CC. It's very frustrating when it just goes up for like, it just feels like forever. Survival Hunter. So they're nerfing cooldowns. This is good. This is okay, so we're nerfing cooldowns by a lot. 25% damage on takedown. And then they're buffing everything outside of it by 6%. I don't know if that's enough. I think they're giving you the Fire Mage treatment. Again, I like this. This is good. Doing that to the cooldown is good. This is just not enough, I don't think. 6% is not enough. And because it's not enough, it means you're probably dead. You're dead spec. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me on paper, it doesn't sound like enough outside of your cooldowns. It's the same thing that happened to Fire Mage, where it's damage outside of its cooldowns. They buff Fireball by like 80%, but it wasn't enough to compensate for the cooldown nerf, so you're just like unviable after that. So I'm a bit, this is the right direction. I don't know if these numbers are right. We'll see, I guess. For Fire Mage, we'd like to increase Fire's steady state damage by adjusting Fireball to reward casting, and Meteor has been harder to justify picking up than we would like. So Fireball and Frost Fireball are getting an additional 35% buff, and Meteor is getting a 30% buff. So I really want you to press Fireball. Just bring Greater Pyroblast back at that point. Like just take the cooldown off Greater Pyroblast, and I don't know. I mean, I still don't know if that's enough. It's been buffed by 80 and then now 35. I still actually don't know if that's enough because it does such a small amount. For Holy Paladin, Holy Light's mana cost is more restrictive in PvP than intended, so we're adjusting Divine Favor to make its use less punishing. So Divine Favor will now only reduce the mana cost. Oh wait, it's going to reduce the mana cost by 30% up from 10. And they fixed an issue that caused Denounce to not scale its damage with level or with buffs such as Avenging Wrath. This is about a 90% increase to baseline output. Big Denounce build? Was mana really the only problem with Paladin? I guess Prez got nerfed. I feel like Paladin is on the bottom, though, of all the healers. I'm expecting a little bit more for them. For Prot Paladins, damage capabilities have been higher than healthy for a spec with its utility, so they're nerfing damage by 10%. Again, I feel like they needed to target the cooldown again. They only do damage in a very one specific area of time. Their overall damage is not really... I think they're probably still viable after that. Like, their burst is so high that a 10% on the burst doesn't really do much. This just makes their already irrelevant damage outside of the burst, more irrelevant. It was irrelevant anyway, so I don't think that's huge for Prot. Prot's probably still alive after that. I can't believe it survived after the other nerfs they did to it, but I would expect it's probably still alive after that. For Retribution Paladin, we are adjusting Divine Exaction's effectiveness to reduce Ret Paladin's burst window. So Templar's Divine Exaction down to 75% from 150. That seems really big. Now maybe you will try the other hero talent build, because that seems pretty big. A 50% nerf. You might. I was saying you're probably not going to do it, but maybe you will. Maybe you'll be a Divine Storm spamming AoE red again. I don't know, but that seems pretty big for ret. For Holy Priest, we are reducing the mana cost of your core spells. Didn't they do that up top too? Oh, see the PvE change up above. It's intended to help you healing longer engagements. Additionally, Archon is felt weak, so they're buffing Halo damage and healing by 25%. I don't think that's major. For Shadow, we feel Voidweaver is in a good position, but Archon is lacking. So they're buffing Archon Halo damage and healing, as well as Archon Mindflay Insanity damage by 25%. So maybe give Archon a try. These aren't like jumping off the page to me, but I feel like these are types of changes where like I'd have to play it directly, and I have a priest down. It's the best time to play a bunch of alts, and I will try these on Tuesday when these go out. It's not jumping enough off the page that's making me think you would, but maybe. I'm trying to think of a situation too where you would want to be playing Archon. There's definitely a threshold where I think you do switch it, but I just don't know if that's hitting it or not. Enhancement Shaman. Enhancement Burst has been hard to react to during cooldowns due to Maelstrom Weapon bug. Oh, there's a bug. This is what I'm saying. Like, every time I do these videos or tier lists, and I'm like, I think this spec is here, but I'm like, I don't know if it's because it's bugged. Might be bugged. Or if it's because they just overbuffed it or what. In addition, we're toning down the haste gain from Shamanism to reduce the cooldown pressure from Shaman DPS specs. Don't nerf Bloodlust, man. You're only going to get 15% haste from Bloodlust. I like Bloodlust. Resolved an issue causing Maelstrom weapon damage spenders from Thorm's Invocation during Doom winds to deal more damage than intended. I wish they put like a little caveat saying this results in a, you know, like they did up above with Paladin, where it was like to get an idea of like how much is this going down? Maybe it's going down a lot. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see because I don't know. Elemental Shaman. Elemental is often relying on Ascendance for kills due to its high burst potential. These changes are intended to increase their overall pressure. I like that. That's good. So they're nerfing Bloodlust also by 5%. And Ascendance is only going to increase elemental overload damage by 10%, down from 25. However, Lava Burst is just going to do 15% more, and Lightning Bolt will do 15% more. Again, this is good direction. I think this is really good direction. I don't know if the numbers are enough. I definitely think this nerfs Stormbringer more than Farseer. Because like you're basically getting the 15% back on your Lava Burst at least during Ascendance with this. So you're about the same, except you do a little bit more. You know, I mean, maybe you're not going to tickle anymore. It's not bad. Again, this isn't bad. I feel like this is a good direction. I just don't know if the numbers are exactly enough. And it's one of those things where you got to put the numbers in, have it play out, look at it, and then bump it up a little bit more and bump it up a little bit more until it gets there. For Affliction Lock, Hellcaller is underperformed compared to Soul Harvester, and we would like to shrink that gap. So they're buffing Blackened Soul damage by 35%. They're buffing Wither by 15%. They're buffing Mark of Xavius, and now cause Blackened Soul to deal 4% increased damage per stack of Wither from 2. So a little bit of a hero tree rebalance here. AF was already kind of doing pretty gnarly, so I mean, this is just something to check out. Demonology has been... It's been pretty weak, so I think this is probably going to get some big buffs. For Demonology and Destruction, we're pulling back on some of the previous reductions to Conflagrate and Ruination as they were proving to be a little too heavy-handed. Good. We're also bringing up the damage of core casts like Incinerate and Hand of Gul'dan to reward Warlocks more. Hand of Gul'dan, 30% buff, and Ruination damage, 100% buff. So that number jumps off the page a little bit more for trying out Dabalist. Hand of Gul'dan's nice. It's not this isn't huge. I think maybe this Ruination thing is huge. It's kind of weird to me though that like we're doing this with Shaman, which is great, and in Survival Hunter as long as the numbers end up being good. But then this is like that's like a massive one-shot ability. So I don't like we're kind of counteracting that on the lock changes. Like we're like it's improving on one area and then it's being counteracted on another, depending on if this is enough, right? Like 100% sounds like a lot, but maybe it was really weak. I like this. Incinerate and Conflagrate getting buffed. 30% and 60%. That's very nice. Very nice. Those abilities suck. Ruination also got 100% increased. You know, with Soulfire hitting so hard, maybe you could actually get the cast off. You could bait people with Soulfire. I think it's pretty nice for Warlock. For Warrior, Berserker's Roar's duration is overly disruptive. We are decreasing it and should open up more options on how to decide to deal with it. This is the crowd control reduction window. I'm actually glad they looked at that. It was definitely a bit egregious. For Arms Warrior, they're just giving you a 3% nerf. Didn't you get buffed up here, though? Oh, no, they didn't give it to you. Okay, so Frost Mages, how do you guys keep getting away with this? There's no way. You got buffed. I'm not trolling, right? Like, you didn't get this, but, like, you got this, you got this, you got this. I don't know. Maybe you're not playing Frostfire? I don't know why. What? Would you really not be playing Frostfire after this? For sure you will be playing Frostfire after this. I can't believe Frost Mage got buffed. There's no way, man. Frost, dude. There's no way. It did. It actually got buffed. What? There's some good direction in here, but then there's some that's kind of counteracting it. Did they address every single one-shot also? I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was like jumping off the page for like, oh my god. I guess Voidweaver is still kind of sneaking by a little bit. Boomy might have a one-shot after everything has been done here. There's a lot in here, but I feel like Rogue Mage still just reigns supreme. When is the downfall of Rogue Mage? When is it? I think Ret Paladin got nerfed harder than Frost. Frost actually got buffed, and then Ret got nerfed harder than Frost. I like the changes on Prez; those are good. I'm a bit confused by some of it. Some of the lesser healers got a little bit of a buff, not major. I mean, maybe the healers will be a bit better with the nerfs to the one shots that are coming through here. We're gonna have to see. I think there's some good stuff in here. There's some stuff, unfortunately, I think that's counteracting the stuff that they're making progress on in other cases. And I was expecting a little bit more tank balance, at least for Mythic Plus. At least it will keep things at least interesting. Unfortunately, I think Survival Hunter is kind of dead. A little bit dead. I kind of have to wait and see how it plays out. But might be a little dead. And Shaman got nerfed harder than Frost. Frost is not... I cannot believe you guys are not... I can't believe they're not removing your mass invisibility PvP talent. Or something to remove one of the ways you have to stop getting attacked. I'm very surprised to not see that. Very surprised. But that's it for this update here. Thank you guys very much for watching the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And I will see you in the next one.